I'm Jerry Gilbert, Provost and Executive Vice President. Welcome to the 2014 Freshman Convocation. This is our first ever Freshman Convocation, and we are excited to be here to commemorate the beginning of your academic career at MSU. A Chinese philosopher once said, "A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step." To complete your degrees, you will spend about 1,600 hours in class. So on this, your second day of class, you have figuratively taken your first step in your coursework journey to your degree. But your journey to completing college will include much more than just completing classes. You will be growing intellectually and gaining new life skills that will aid you in becoming a leader in your chosen profession. As I've said to you in the spring and summer orientation sessions, I hope that you will become involved in learning activities outside of the classroom to supplement and reinforce what your professors are teaching you in your class. Study abroad, undergraduate research, service learning, student leadership, internships, and co-oping are all ways to augment the classroom learning and to add to your overall education. Today we will be hearing from President Keenum and from the author Sarah Thebarge, who wrote The Invisible Girls. I hope that you will leave inspired with an attitude that you will be successful here at Mississippi State and successful in life. You will be hearing from people on the stage today, but you will not be hearing from everyone. So now I would like to introduce those members of the platform party who are not recognized at another point in the ceremony. I will begin with Ms. Haley Grantham, Student Association Vice President. Dr. Megan Millay, Mace Bearer, and John Grisham, Master Teacher Award winner. Dr. Lori Bruce, Dean of the Graduate School and Associate Vice President for Academic Affairs. Dr. Gregory Bohach, Vice President for Agriculture, Forestry, and Veterinary Medicine. Mr. Don Zant, Vice President for Budget and Planning. Mr. John Rush, Vice President for Development and Alumni. Mr. Bill Broyles, Interim Vice President for Student Affairs. Ms. Amy Tuck, Vice President for Campus Services. Dr. David Shaw, Vice President for Research and Economic Development. Dean Francis Coleman, Dean of Libraries. Dean Jason Keith, Interim Dean of the Bagley College of Engineering. Dean Kent Hoblet, Dean of the College of Veterinary Medicine. Dean George Hopper, Dean of the College of Forest Resources and the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences. Dean Richard Blackburn, Dean of the College of Education. Dean Greg Dunaway, Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences. Dean Sharon Oswald, Dean of the College of Business. Dean Jim West, Dean of the College of Architecture, Art, and Design. Dean Chris Snyder, Dean of the Shackles Honors College. It is now my distinct pleasure to present to you President of Mississippi State University, Dr. Mark Keenum.
All right. Now tell me the truth. Isn't it great to be a Bulldog? Yes. Whoa. I want to thank all of you for joining us today for this very historic occasion, our very first freshman convocation. Today, we are formally welcoming 3,000 new Bulldogs to our university family as freshmen. Isn't that great? And we want to take this occasion to do this in public in a meaningful way to signify the journey that you all are about to begin. Your years at Mississippi State will change your life. And I say that from personal experience as a 3-time graduate of this university. You will learn to grow intellectually and socially. You will hone your leadership and your teamwork skills. You will deepen your understanding of people who come from places and cultures different from your own, and gain a greater appreciation for the importance of helping others. Certainly, you will leave here one day well prepared to make a living in your chosen field. Our goal is to ensure that you are prepared to lead a good life that includes contributions not only to your profession, but to your community, state, and nation, and to the vast majority of people who are less fortunate than you are. Because you are here by virtue of where you sit today, among the most fortunate people who have ever lived. Of course, I know that many of you have experienced difficulties at some point in your life, and you probably will again. Most of you were not born with a silver spoon in your mouth by any stretch of the imagination. I'm not suggesting that your future will be one of ease and without any troubles at all. No. But in the long history of humankind, very few people have entered adulthood with the array of opportunities before them that are within the grasp of each and every one of you. I know that every one of you here today is capable of earning a degree from Mississippi State. And with that, you can literally do anything and become any person you want to be. My first piece of advice to all of you today is do not underestimate yourself. You have strengths and skills and smarts that you don't yet even realize. However, talented and dedicated faculty members, administrators, fellow students, and many others that you will encounter along your way are eager to help you to uncover all of your talents. But of course, that process starts with you. And the person most responsible for what you make of this extraordinary opportunity is again you. One of the most vitally important things that you must do during your critical first weeks of college is strikingly obvious. And for all of you freshmen who heard me at orientation, I sound like a broken record. Because I'm going to tell you to go to class. Every time, no exceptions. Go to class. And I'm not going to stand up here today and burden you with all the statistics and all the facts, but we do know from research and from a long time of experience that grades that you earn will be directly related to your class attendance, and that freshmen who miss more than a few classes in their first semester are putting themselves in a very serious academic jeopardy. But certainly, I want each and every one of you to set a bar for yourself higher than just showing up and getting by. I want you to develop a lofty vision for what you can become and for what you can achieve. Your vision, it may take some time for it to gel as you explore all of the many academic disciplines and career possibilities that are available to you right here at Mississippi State. But that won't prevent you from making a commitment right here, right now, to yourself to graduate from Mississippi State University in 4 years or less. Nearly all of you can do that if you make it a priority. Some of you will participate in the co-op program here at Mississippi State, or follow a degree program that may take a little longer, or engage in some other valid activity that stretches out your time to graduation. That's fine. That's fine. You'll always be part of this special class of 2018. But the great majority of you, you can finish in 4 years, save on college cost, and get a head start on your career earnings or graduate school by just taking at least 15 credit hours each fall and spring semester on average. Throw in a few summer sessions, and like I said, you too may be able to earn your degree from Mississippi State University in 3 years, which I certainly hope that many of you will do. Remember, take 15 to finish. And since most students who take higher course loads or higher number of credit hours tend to have better grades, you may want to take 16 for success. Well, as part of today's ceremony, each of you are receiving a special commemorative coin created just for this occasion. You got your coin? I've heard several of them hitting the floor already. All of you got your coin. Each freshman here today is receiving one of these gold and maroon medallions. And it's inscribed, as you'll see, Class of 2018. That just happens to be 4 years from now, right? What I want you to do is keep this coin with you. Put it in a safe place. Keep this coin as a reminder of this event and as a reminder of your commitment to make the most of your education and to make the most of your opportunity right here at Mississippi State. You're the first class to ever get a coin like this. You're setting a new tradition for freshman classes for generations to come at Mississippi State. The class of 2018 will always be remembered as the very first class to have this special event. Well, I'm asking you to keep these coins for a couple of reasons. First of all, I want to see all of these coins back here again in Humphrey Coliseum. So, in 4 years or less, when you come across this stage, I'll be standing up here to congratulate you and shake your hand and present you with your diploma from this university. I want you to bring your coin with you to your graduation. And I want you to present it and show it to me right here on this stage so we can have that brief moment, you and I, to celebrate your outstanding accomplishment of earning your degree here at Mississippi State University, and to celebrate not only how far you will have come, but to celebrate how far you're about to go. Keep your coin. Bring it to your graduation. Then, I want you to return your coin to a very safe place. And I want each and every one of you to keep this forever. Because someday, far in the future, you will look back and you will find this coin, and it will be a much treasured reminder of one of the most auspicious times in your life. Freshmen, I'm proud of you. I'm excited for you. And I'm a little bit envious of you, to tell you the truth. But I truly, sincerely want to wish each and every one of you all the best during your time here at our beloved Mississippi State University. But most importantly, let me say, may God bless each and every one of you. Thank you. Now, as we move to the next portion of today's program, we have the great privilege of hearing from Sarah Thebarge, the author of this year's Maroon Edition book selection, The Invisible Girl, a memoir. I read this book last spring, and I can assure you that it is insightful, moving, and it is inspiring. And although it recounts great pain and trouble encountered by our author and others, it is also an enjoyable book because it demonstrates the resilience of the human spirit and the redeeming power of compassion for others. If you've not read this book already, I highly urge you to do so. Sarah Thebarge grew up as a pastor's kid in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. She earned a master's degree in medical science from Yale School of Medicine and was studying journalism at Columbia University when she was diagnosed with breast cancer at the age of 27. As we read in Invisible Girls, that was the start of a long, difficult, and life-altering experience. But when Sarah moved across the country to try to put her life back together, she encountered others who were also deeply in need. And despite her own troubles, she reached out to help. Her involvement with a struggling refugee mother and her daughters from Somalia was a great blessing to that family. But it turned out to be a great blessing to Sarah, too. And is a powerful story. But the message that Sarah Thebarge now devotes her time to sharing is not confined to this book. Her writings are also appear in Just Between Us, Relevant, and Christianity Today. In her writing for Christianity Today, Sarah earned first prize from the Evangelical Press Association in 2012. She was voted one of the 40 women under 40 who are challenging taboos of the Christian faith. And she has a second book that is soon to come out in publication. She currently lives in Santa Barbara, California, and writes much followed blog that challenges readers to see the invisible people all around us and to live with faith and compassion for others. Bulldogs, please join me in welcoming Sarah Thebarge.
To President Keenum, Provost and Executive Vice President Gilbert, to all the faculty and the staff and the guests, and most of all to you, the class of 2018, thank you so much. I am honored and privileged that you all will be reading The Invisible Girls as your Maroon Edition book this year. And I hope that you are inspired, and I'm so excited to see all of the themes that get lived out in your lives and on your campus this year. I don't know about you, but when I finished high school, in those couple months before I started college, I got asked the question, what are you going to do next? About 1,000,000 times, right? What are you going to be when you grow up? Where are you going to go to college? What are you going to study? And I'd been thinking about that question for a very long time. I started thinking about this question when I was a little girl. And I remember I was 13 years old, and I was sitting on the back porch one night, and my dad came out and sat next to me, and he said, "What are you thinking about?" And I said, "Dad, I think I've decided what I'm going to be when I grow up." He said, "What's that?" I said, "Well, as soon as I'm old enough, I'm going to run for the presidency of the United States of America." And I was not joking. That fall, our class held elections for the student council, and there were 2 people running, me and this guy. It was a very small school. There were only 12 people in our class, and I figured the odds are pretty good. We had a week-long campaign, and then we gave speeches, and then the class took a vote, and I did not win. Looking back, I think it's probably because my campaign slogan was, "Put the barge in charge." But at the time, I took it as a sign that I was not cut out. I was not presidential material, and so I decided that I needed an alternative career path. My little sister, who's 9 years younger than me, had been born with a couple of congenital heart defects, and I'd spent a lot of time in my elementary school years sitting in the waiting room of the pediatric intensive care unit, and I fell in love with medicine. I loved watching the nurses and the doctors take care of people, and I was so inspired, and I thought, what a great thing to combine your intelligence with compassion and help people feel better. And so I decided this is what I was going to do, that I was going to study medicine. I got a scholarship to go to a college in California. Going from Lancaster, Pennsylvania, which is Amish country, to Los Angeles, California is quite the experience. It's a whole new culture, but I was really excited. I was so excited that I took 19 units of upper division math and science classes in one semester, and I basically fried my brain. 15 credits is sounding pretty good. 15 or 16 is good. 19 is the rough. So I did that. I burnt out, and I thought, I'm either going to have to change my major, or I'm going to add in a class just for me, just for fun, and that's what I decided to do. I'd always loved to write. I had kept a diary for as long as I could remember, and there was a journalism class that fit in with my schedule, and I decided to take it. A couple weeks into the semester, the professor pulled me aside, and he said, "Have you ever thought about writing? I think you may have a knack for this. You may be able to have a career as a writer." And at the time, I don't know why, but it had never occurred to me before that there were people who actually got paid to write. Like, this is what they did. This is how they earned their income. And I was shocked. It was like somebody telling me, "Hey, guess what? What if we paid you to breathe?" And I was like, cool, because I breathe all the time anyway. So when I found out that you could write, I thought, that's great. I'd love to be a writer, because I write all the time anyway. And I decided I had this new idea for my career, and I was going to blend medicine with writing, and I was going to be a health reporter at a major news magazine. This is my new idea. I talked to my journalism professor, and I said, what's the best way for me to get started in my new career? And he said, well, the next step is to get published. Not a book, just an article or an essay, send it around, see if somebody will run it, and start to build your writing resume. And I thought, okay, I'll do it. I took all the money I had, which was about $50, and I spent it on stamps and envelopes. I sent out about 100 copies of this essay that I'd written to all these newspapers and magazines across the country, and I also included a self-addressed stamped envelope with a little note, and it said, will you publish my piece? Check yes or no. I got them all back, and they all said no. Some of them were very kind about it, and others were a little bit snarky. There was one editor in Iowa, and he wrote me back, and he said, "Dear Miss Thebarge, please don't give up your career in medicine." And I went to my journalism professor. I was almost in tears, and I said, I thought I was supposed to be a writer. I thought you said I was going to be a writer, and nobody will publish me. He looked at me and he said, "Thebarge, writers are not people who get published. Writers are people who write." And that gave me a lot of determination that no matter what anybody said, no matter what anybody did, if I knew in my soul that this is what I was supposed to do, I was just going to run for it. I decided that in order to make myself a very competitive candidate for the medical journalism job, I would get a master's degree in medicine, a master's degree in journalism, and that would make me the best candidate to write feature stories on health topics for magazines like Time or Newsweek. I got an interview for the medical program at Yale, and when I got the email asking me to come interview, I about fell off my chair. And I thought, there is no way I'm going to get into this school, but I'm going to go, because that way for the rest of my life I can say I went to Yale, even if it was just for a weekend. I went to the interview. I'm sitting across from the admissions panel. This man looks down at me and he says, "Miss Thebarge, why should we let you into Yale?" And in this moment I realize I've got two choices. I can play it safe and I can talk about the usual, this is my GPA, these are the classes I took, all of that. But that sounded a little bit boring. And I thought my other choice is I can go for broke. And there is no chance that they're going to let a soft-spoken Baptist preacher's kid into Yale anyway, so I might as well go for broke. And I looked at this man and I said, "The reason why you should let me into Yale is because I'm going to change the world someday, and I'm giving you the chance to say, we knew her when." Now, in 4 years, when y'all are applying to grad school, I do not recommend saying that in your admissions interview, but for some reason it worked. And they were supposed to notify accepted students in 2 weeks, and I got a phone call from the dean the next day. She said, "We'd like you to turn down all of your other interviews, and we'd like you to come to Yale." And I said, "Great." I finished that degree, and then I got accepted into Columbia University, which is a great journalism school in New York City. And at this point, I'm thinking, I am on top of the world. And I want to go back to that class of 12 people that voted me out in 7th grade, and I want to tell them, I told you to put Thebarge in charge. And I was so excited, and I had so much potential and so much enthusiasm and so many dreams for how my career was going to take off. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. I was 27 years old. It came out of nowhere. And all of a sudden, the wheels came off the train. I had surgery. They said, "We got it all." A year later, it came back. And it came back again. I had chemo and radiation and then more chemo, and my life fell completely apart. I was going to be the girl that changed the world, and now I was the girl who couldn't even get out of bed. And in the span of my treatment, I lost everything. The guy that I was going to marry broke up with me. One of my good friends died of cancer. I had to drop out of the journalism program because it's hard to take a 90-minute train ride into the city when you're puking. And then my car got hit in the parking lot of my apartment building, and I'm thinking, good grief, what could possibly go wrong next? Well, I ended up in the emergency room, and I had a whopping pneumonia at the end of all my treatments because my immune system was shot. And they admitted me into the ICU, and I had less than a 50-50 chance of walking out of the hospital alive. I made it out of the hospital, and I decided the pieces of my life are too broken to put them back together. I'm just going to bail. And I sold everything. I bought a one-way ticket to Portland, Oregon, because it was as far away as I could get from Connecticut without dropping into the ocean. And I landed there with just a suitcase of clothes and a completely shattered heart, completely shattered dream. And I'm thinking, this is it. I'm all washed up. And I'm basically just in exile, and I'm going to live out my life here, and I'm just done. And then I was riding the train from the suburbs of Portland towards downtown, And the Somali woman got on the train with her 2 little girls who were ages 3 and 4. And the mom and the 4-year-old found a seat, but it was crowded, it was rush hour, there wasn't a seat for the 3-year-old, so she was standing up between her mom's knees and she's trying to sleep while she's standing up. And she's tired and she keeps kind of falling asleep. She'll nod off and almost fall over, and then she'll startle awake and she'll pick herself up by her mom's skirts, and then she'll do it again. And I was watching her, and part of me was laughing because I'm thinking, I've never seen a kid try to sleep while they're standing up before. And then part of me was I felt bad, and I thought, somebody should hold that little girl because she's obviously tired. And the next thing I knew, she opened her eyes and she looked right at me. And so I held out my arms and she climbed into my lap and she fell asleep. And then I realized I need to make eye contact with her mom and start a conversation, because otherwise she's going to think that some creep just tried to snatch her daughter. And I talked to the mom, and she tells me in broken English a little bit more about their story, that they're refugees from Somalia, that she and her husband had come over here with their 5 little girls who were under the age of 9. Dad had been abusive and had left, and now she's here all by herself, doesn't have any money, doesn't speak the language, doesn't know a soul. When she runs out of words to tell me in English a little bit more about their story, tears well up in her eyes, and she shakes her head and she says, "It's too much. It's too much." And I thought, I recognize the look in that woman's eyes, because that's the look I had in my eyes when I landed in Portland, completely lost and broken and alone and overwhelmed. And I had this thought that maybe I should get their address and go check on them, because I had this idea that they weren't okay. And then part of me thought, that's crazy, because if I had a conversation with someone on the train and a couple days later they showed up at my door, I would freak out. And I don't want to make this woman feel more vulnerable than she already does. But then I thought about the golden rule, which is do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And I thought, what if the situation was the other way around? What if I'm a single mom and someone drops me and my 5 girls into Somalia, and I don't speak the language, and I don't know anybody, and I don't have any money, and some kind person saw me on the train? What would I want that person to do? And I thought, help me. I'd want them to get off the train and help me. And so a couple days later, I went over to their apartment, found them living in some of the poorest conditions that I've seen in the US, with no furniture, just the clothes on their back, no change of clothes. They had no toiletries, no towels, and then they were eating moldy bread dipped in ketchup because Mom had run out of money and didn't have any resources to buy food, so she'd taken to dumpster diving. And her little girls were eating moldy bread dipped in ketchup for dinner because this is all their mom could find in the trash. That began a relationship with this family. I went back a couple days later, I took them some food. I went back a couple days after that, I took them some clothes. And soon I found myself going back and back and back, not because I was giving them charity, just doing like a drive-by charity run, but because I fell in love with this family and they loved on me. And as much as I helped them adjust to life in America, they saved my life because they loved me when I was broken, and these little girls didn't care how broken I was. They just crawled on me and hugged me and kissed me and loved me. And they were also an example of resilience because they'd been through genocide. Their 3 brothers had died in Africa, and yet they were joyful and they were irrepressible. And I thought, if they can get through that, if they can have joy in spite of what they've been through, then surely there's hope for me. I started a blog about them, partly because I love to write, and partly because every time I came back from the apartment, all my friends and family asked me what happened next. They always wanted to hear the next story, and there were a lot of stories. The first time that I showed the mom how to turn on the heat in their apartment, these little girls ran around screaming that I'd set their house on fire because they're from Somalia and they didn't have heat in their house there. And the only explanation these little girls can think of for why there's hot air coming from behind a wall is that there's a fire back there, and they know that I'm the one that flipped the switch and started it. There are all these stories that's so interesting to see the world through their eyes, watching Western civilization for the very first time. And I blogged about these stories for 1.5 years. And by this time, I was just completely in love with this family. They were like my little sisters, like my little girls. And you know, some people ask the question, what do you get for the girl who has everything? And my question was, what do you get for the girl who has absolutely nothing? And my answer was, you get that girl an education. And all of you are here because you know this too. You get an education. Getting an education opens up your horizons, gives you new possibilities. It helps you develop your potential. It gives you choices. It gives you a chance. And this is what I wanted for these little girls, and this is what I want for all of you. However, I could not take a pen and write a check for 5 little girls' college tuitions for 4 years, because that's a lot of money. And I couldn't sell a blog, but I thought I could sell a book. And so I wrote the story, and I was reading the first draft, and I thought, this is a great story. There's all these entertaining events. It's so interesting, but there's one thing missing. And what's missing is you don't understand my character. You don't understand, why did I do what I did? Why did I end up in Portland in the first place? And that's when I realized that as different as I was from this family on the outside when I first met them, at the core, we were just the same. At the core, all of us are just the same. We all want to be loved and seen and known and cared for. We all want to know that it matters when we're hurting. It matters when we don't feel well. We all want people to celebrate us. And then the other thing I had in common with this family was that I knew what it was kind of like to be a refugee of sorts, to almost die, to sell everything you had, end up in a new place thousands of miles away with just clothes and a broken heart and a shattered dream, and wonder how in the world are you going to put the pieces back together. And so the real reason why this family resonated with me was because I'd been an invisible girl too. And the story wasn't just their story, and it wasn't just my story, but it was our story. It was a story of how you can be connected to people that look entirely different from you. It was a story of finding redemption in the most unexpected place. I would never think that getting on the max would have healed my broken heart and would have opened up all of these opportunities. All of you have read or are going to read the book, and I know all of your departments are planning some really amazing opportunities for you to engage with the themes of the book, to engage with justice, domestic violence, poverty, funding education, and all of these things, and I'm thrilled. I'm so excited to see what comes out of your year. And I'm also excited because every time you buy a copy of the book, you're not just reading about the girls' past, but you actually have the opportunity to contribute to their future, because all the funds from the book are going into a college fund for these 5 little Somali girls. And so I am just honored to be here. I am thrilled that you've chosen The Invisible Girls as the Maroon Edition book. And as we close, I want to leave you with this. I want to leave you with the image of a train. Because here's the thing. At some point in your life, the wheels will fall off your train and your train will derail. Just like the wheels fell off of my train when I was diagnosed with cancer and my entire life fell apart. It might be this week or this semester or at some point in the future, but at some point something will happen and life will not go as you want it to. Life will not go as you planned. You may run out of money, you may fail a class, a relationship that you cared about might break up, a friend might leave, your health might decline, something will happen. And at that point, when the train goes off the tracks, you're going to have some choices to make. You can choose to stay there and wallow in the fact that your train broke down and you can't get to where you thought you were going to go, and you can stay there forever. Or you can get super angry and get out and kick the train until it starts again. But I don't really recommend either of those, because if you choose to wallow in what went wrong, you'll miss out on the rest of your life and the lives of people around you. And if you kick against the train, you're just going to break your foot. The train is dead. Or you can have hope. And this is what I hope the story of the Invisible Girls gives to you, is that when things go as you don't plan, you hop off the train, you go on foot, you go looking for the next adventure because it's there. When the train breaks down, it's easy to think that your story's over, that this is the end of the line. But here's the deal. If you're still breathing, your story isn't over. If you're still breathing, it's not the end. Yes, it's the end of a chapter, but every chapter has to end so that a new chapter can start. I'm not here talking to you. I'm not here having written a book about the Invisible Girls because every single thing in my life went exactly the way I planned it and it all went swimmingly. I'm here because everything fell to pieces. But when I hopped off the train of the dreams that I had imagined for myself, I found this whole new adventure. And I hope that gives you hope to venture into your lives and find that adventure as well. The other thing I want you to think about when you think about trains is that at some point in your future, you may find yourself on a train that's going the wrong direction. And in that place, I hope you have the courage to jump off. There are millions of people in our world who are on packed trains that are rushing towards the status quo. There are people who live with assumptions that in order to have a successful life, it means getting married, having 2 kids, having a 5,000 square foot house, the corner office, a big expense account. It means hanging out with people who look and act and talk and believe just like you. It means when you encounter other people who don't agree with you, that you scream at them, that you demean them, and you treat them with contempt. It means that if people come to you who are in need, you turn them away and point them towards the closest welfare office because it's not your problem, it's not your fault. There are lots of people living like that. And at some point in your life, you may find yourself on a train going the wrong direction. Have the courage to jump off. Have the courage to hop off the train and go see invisible people that nobody's ever seen before. Have the courage to hop off and go looking for solutions to problems that people said could not be solved. Go looking for cures for diseases that people say are incurable. And you may be sitting there thinking of all the reasons why you are unqualified to hop off a train. Maybe you're thinking, I'm only 18. I'm only a college freshman. I'm just a kid that grew up on food stamps. I'm only a kid that came from a single parent home. I'm really shy. I'm really insecure. I don't have anything. Why could the world possibly need me? Here's the deal. If the world could have solved its problems without you, it would have done that already. But you need look only to this past summer, to all of the violence and the diseases and the suffering and the chaos around the globe and even in our own country to know that as beautiful as the world is, it is desperately broken and it is desperately in need of new solutions that nobody's ever discovered before. You're here on purpose. Your voice and your vision are necessary. They are crucial to our world. And I hope that you believe in yourself because I sure believe in every single one of you. It's my pleasure to be here. It's my honor to be able to be at your convocation. Welcome to the next chapter of your story. Welcome to the unbelievable Mississippi State University. And most of all, welcome to the world, my friends. We've been waiting for you.
I will now call to the right podium Mr. Brett Harris, President of the Student Association, And to the center podium, Dr. Randy Follett, President of the Faculty Senate.
Here at Mississippi State, you have the opportunity to become whatever you want. Best-selling novelist John Grisham, founder of Holiday Inn Express, Barney McCool, founder of PV Electronics, Hartley PV, a long line of United States congressmen and congresswomen, including Sonny Montgomery, John Stennis, Alan Nunnally, and Marsha Blackburn, and a huge list of CEOs, including the CEO of Energy Mississippi, Haley Fisackerly, and the CEO of Mossy Oak, Toxie Hayes. All of these people have one thing in common. They are Mississippi State alumni. This shows you that MSU opens the doors to you to become whatever you want with a little hard work and dedication. To help you along the way, you have your Bulldog family. Dak Prescott said it best after his mother passed away last year. After many fans showed their support and encouragement through that tough time, he hit to social media and said, "Here at MSU, we don't have fans, we have family." That point is so very true. As you begin this journey, there will be over 20,000 students, 100,000 alumni, and over 1,000 faculty and staff to help you along the way. So your family just got a little bit larger. Now, I want to take this moment to seek the faculty's acceptance of the class of 2018, and I ask that they mentor and guide you toward the academic success over the next 4 years. Freshmen, please rise and repeat the honor code after me. As a Mississippi State University student, I will conduct myself with honor and integrity at all times. I will not lie, cheat, or steal, nor will I accept the actions of those who do. Now I would like to ask Dr. Follett to accept the class of 2018 on behalf of the MSU faculty.
Thank you, Brett, for your presentation of this incoming freshman class. And on behalf of the faculty of MSU, I do hereby accept this class of 2018. To you incoming freshmen, I extend the faculty's sincere welcome. Despite how it might seem, we actually do have a sense of what you're going through, even though it may have been a few years back when we were incoming freshmen. On behalf of the faculty, and if I might be allowed to also speak as a parent of an incoming freshman, I urge you to take ownership of your undergraduate experience here at MSU. Become part of the Bulldog family and make your education meaningful. The old phrase, "Start out like you can hold out," never rang more true. If you start out missing class or just scraping by, it will become a habit. However, the converse, which is much more preferable, is also true. As has already been said, go to class, do your homework, but even more, realize that these things are, after all, the minimum. I strongly urge you to put in that extra effort that can make the difference between passing and excelling. We, the faculty, are more than willing to do whatever we can in order to facilitate your undergraduate degree, but we need your active participation. Figure out what you do want to do, which may or may not be what you think it is right now, and work on achieving that goal. Once again, I welcome you to MSU and ask that you let us, the faculty, know what we can do to help you reach that goal. Thank you. I will now ask everyone to rise and join in the singing of the Alma Mater, Maroon and White, led by Dr. Tara Warfield.
Before I begin, I need to let you know that there is an error in the program, and we need to get you to sing this right the first time. So, where you see Mississippi State, we love you, the line that was omitted after that is, fondest memories cling to thee. Okay, remember that. Okay. In the heart of Mississippi, made by none but God's own hands, stately in her natural splendor, our alma mater proudly
Please be seated. I would ask that you please remain seated for the recessional, and after the recessional, please make your way down the aisles to the floor for a reception, and Ms. Thebarge will be available to sign books. Refreshments will also be available along the Coliseum concourse. We extend our best wishes for a successful semester to the class of 2018.